Hello, welcome to Mrs. Alty's Guide to Reading. I'm hoping it will give you some helpful tips to encourage reading at home. So, when to read? I firmly believe that reading at home is just as important as the reading that we do in school. And being a good reader allows children to access to the whole curriculum, but also to have that love of reading and enjoying new worlds in different books. So, my top tips really would be to choose a specific time when you are going to read, and that fits in just with your family, whether it's before tea, whether it's straight after tea, whether it's further on into the evening when they've had a little bit of chill out time. It's up to you, but try not to choose a time when you are both really tired. I would suggest finding somewhere comfy and cosy to settle down to read. Make sure it's quiet, turn the TV off, and allow yourself to have that time together. Um, Make sure that your child knows that you enjoy that time and you value it as much as they do, and that it's a time when you can be together, you can share a book, you can talk about the book, and just have that nice little one-to-one time. And in addition to this, I still think that having a bedtime story every night is really important, so that you are reading a book that maybe is beyond your child's reading ability, but they can still enjoy listening to the story, having you read it to them, and just having that nice time together. So, what do we actually do when we've got the book? Well, share the story together, um, look at the pictures, the characters, talk about what you think might happen. If they've already started to read some pages of that book, recap what's already happened in the story. You might go back and you might share some of that with them. You might read that part with them. When you're reading, share some of the reading. It doesn't have to be them reading the whole time. You could use toys, you can use silly voices just to bring it to life. When it comes to using their phonics, we would encourage children at school to segment the word and then blend it together. So I would say don't be too quick to jump in and tell them an unknown word. Let them have time to work it out. Let them have time to look at the clues in the picture, to think about which word might fit within a sentence, to use their phonic knowledge to help them, and only really help them if they continue to get stuck. Follow the words with your finger as you're reading. Loads of praise and encouragement as your child reads. You can talk about it as they're reading. You can laugh at things together. You can ask them what might happen. And I firmly believe you don't need to read a whole book. I know that some of the books that you might get when you go home, they're quite short, but just a few pages a night is fine. So, our home reading books that you get sent home are linked to the phonic phase your child is working at. So in year one at the moment, we've got children who are working on phase 2 all the way through to phase 5 in their phonics. And you are going to encourage them to say the sound and then blend it together. You may also start to look for patterns in words, like, for instance, the split digraph A, which makes the A sound, but children from their previous learning might think that that A makes an A sound. So these are things that you can talk through as you are reading the story. Always remembering that some of the words that you come across are tricky words and they can't be sounded out using their phonics. So, for instance, words like said, they would have been taught that as a tricky word, and therefore we can't sound it out. But if you get stuck with any of that, you can just ask me for some help. Now, I think this probably is the most important bit for me. It is developing that love of reading. And children often develop that love at reading at home with you. So read a lot if you can at home, whether it's a magazine, whether it's a book, whether it's a newspaper, whether it's a comic, but show them that you love reading as well. I can't stress enough that those children who tend to be able to read well can access anything that we do at school much more confidently. And the aim really is that your child will be able to choose, pick up a book, have pleasure in reading it, and then later as they go through school, they'll be able to have an interest in books, maybe with a particular theme or with a particular author as they get older. I know, for instance, this year already that we have really enjoyed reading Zog, the book by Julia Donaldson, and as a result of that, they wanted to read the sequel to that story, Zog and the Flying Doctors. So again, that is developing a love of an author and looking at what else they have written that they can read. So one part of reading obviously is word recognition and being able to recognise what you were reading on the page. However, the other part of it is understanding and comprehending what you've read. And we want the children to be able to understand what they've read, but also to give an opinion about it. So if we're asking questions at school, we tend to start looking at the characters, the events of the story, the plot, what's happened. If it's a non-fiction text, can we pick out some of the facts that we've learned? You know, how does that relate to other types of learning that we've been looking at? So a good start is to think maybe of a question with a how or a why, a what, a when, or a where. The children in class know that we use them on a hand as just a little hook really to help them with the questions. If you're thinking about opinions, they might say why they like a particular character in the story, or what did they think of the ending. And you might share your opinions as well, and then encourage them to talk about theirs. So here are some useful websites which you could have a little look at. We've already got the Teacher Monster to read, and they've had their logins already sent home for them. But ask me if you can't find it. We've also got the Bug Club, which is the last one on there, which is the Active Learn primary. Again, if you can't find your login for that, just let me know. But there are books on there that they can read at home as well. Oh, well, I hope that was useful for you. That's just some of my little top tips. But as always, if you've got any problems with it or any questions that you want to ask me, then just send me a message on Dojo. Thanks very much.